This is one of cinema's greatest living filmmakers. Please give a warm welcome to Pedro Almodóvar. And to interpret, Carla, there we go, Carla. Yeah, thank you. Oh my goodness. What an honor, Pedro. Qué honor tenerte aquí. Es increíble. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much.
I want to start with you have done so many stories of love, of sexual infatuation. This is, in my opinion, is one of the purest love stories you have done. This is a story about listening and about being really, truly present with one another, which in my view is the biggest love story there is, to be able to be truly present with one another.
Yeah, this is one of the main themes of the movie. Just to be there, just to accompany someone, because I think just the development of this relationship is even stronger sometimes than a love relationship, because it doesn't have the complication of love or of a romantic story. So, the friendship in this case sometimes is the best we can do for the others, for our family, for our lovers, or for our friends. So it's just to be there, even without talking, just listening or sitting there.
And I was amazed at your directing the close-ups. You give equal close-ups to both actresses, and when Julianne Moore is the camera zeroes in on her listening, and what an amazing actress that we see her.
Yeah, they have to be really great because in the case of Julianne, I divided. I give the same time to Tilda and to Julianne. Julianne is not talking, but anyway, we're not very close up. Her eyes and the fact of being listening. I love when an actress knows how to do that, because it's difficult, but it's really, you have to be really great. And also because the spectator has to read in your eyes what the other person is talking, is saying. So it is difficult, but I don't know how to say, es muy agradecido para una actriz.
But it's very welcome for an actress.
And fortunately, I could work with Julianne. Julianne understood it very, very, very well since the beginning, and also because almost the 50% of the movie she's in silent. Correct.
Yeah. In the coda of the film, after Tilda is gone, there is it's so stunning for me to watch that there is almost a reincarnation of Tilda onto Julianne Moore. There's a transmutation that happens. We see Julianne being stronger and standing up. Can you tell us about that alchemy that happens in the last?
Yeah, there was immediate alchemy between them, or chemistry, as actresses. They didn't know each other, but since the very beginning, they became very close friends. So that's good, for this movie, because you see that on the screen. But thinking about the characters, there is a long process that is Julianne that lives that process. She's changing little by little. At the beginning, she's really frightened about the death, and but she said yes. Just to be there, because also she she realized that Tilda is completely alone, that there were other people that refused what she proposed. Then you see how she's changing, and at the end, as you said, I mean, in this sense, I was thinking in Persona by Ingmar Bergman, there is a kind of transference to the character of Tilda to Julian. And at the end, when Julian is having this awful conversation with that fundamentalist policeman, she's really, she's strong. I mean, she's in a way that we didn't see before. I mean, I mean, for me, she reminds me these wonderful actresses of the noir when she's like a block of cement. Mm-hmm. And this kind of strength is something that she inherited from Tilda. But also at the end, when Michelle, Tilda's daughter, comes, I mean, a performer by the same Tilda, then really, I mean, the character of Julian is going, I mean, she could answer to this girl all kind of questions that Martha couldn't tell in life because that terrible relation between the mother and daughter. So in this case, is Julian the one that is going to tell Michelle everything that Martha couldn't because of that relation.
When I introduced the film, I mentioned that one of the things I have loved about your films is the musicality and of the language. When you do Spanish films, it's heightened language. It's beautiful to listen to it. When now you're doing an English-speaking film, and we also have that musicality in your...
Oh, that's good, because I mean, I really take care of that. Even, I mean, not only to make a very good translation, and also, I mean, my English is not enough to know if that is a very appropriate colloquial. But we're talking about two ladies that they are very cultivated. They are writers. So when they are in the garden, and they can be like gossiping, but in their gossips, they talk about Virginia Woolf, Dora Carrington, like, you know, like other wives can talk about, I don't know, Angelina Jolie. But also
poetry and literature. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I pretend all the time because I mean I wrote the script in Spanish. It was translated. It was very well translated. Anyway, we send it to someone, an author in New York. Luca Guadagnino recommended me to him because he used to work with him, just to make it more accurate, the English. But in any case, I'm conscious that in the way that I write, I don't write exactly in a naturalistic way. Correct. But also in Spanish. I mean, you know Spanish, and you know, I mean, in Spain, the people doesn't talk like in my movies. So I wanted, if it was possible, just to let that kind of music or musicality in one language that I don't know, and I think they got it. Anyway, you know, in the shooting, they were Tilda and Julian, and sometimes they correct me. But not, I mean, 3 or 4 times, a kind of word that they prefer to say it in another way. So, I mean, in this case, I couldn't debate with them because, I mean, they are, I mean, Julian is living in New York and, well, Tilda is Scottish, but anyway, I mean, their English is much better than mine.
Tapping into the idea of naturalism and formalism, the first part of the film, before we get to the house, there's a formality in the acting and the interaction. Once we get to the house, the actresses become more naturalistic, more...
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, when they just reach, I mean, when they just arrived to the house in the woods, I mean, for me, it's a kind of limbo. You say limbo?
Limbo, yes, of course.
I mean, a place which is between the earth and other state, I mean, sky or whatever, another dimension. And I mean, so for that reason, at the beginning, I look at them through that glasses, that because it's like a glass house, because the windows are so big, and that is like they are living in the middle of the forest. Mm-hmm. And that was very good to give that idea of that someone is going, I mean, is in the middle of life and death. And also there, I mean, sometimes I should Tilda like she were a ghost. Because of the specific place. I mean, I could do that, but it was really, I mean, and even at the end, when Michelle arrived, also, I mean, also dressed like the mother. Also, is a kind of ghost living in that place.
But there is a sense of vitality in the second half.
Oh, yes.
Although we're facing death, they seem to be more alive than they were in the first half of the film.
Yeah, because once she decided to do it, and once the others say yes, then, I mean, the character of, I didn't want to make a dark movie. I mean, it's about mortality, it's about euthanasia, but I didn't want a dark and sordid movie, because, I mean, the one that decided just to finish, I mean, her life, is the character of Martha, and it's a character full of vitality. So it's an expression of vitalism, that decision. Because, I mean, I believe that the individual is the owner of their life, but also we are the owner of our death. Mm-hmm. When, in the case of this, of Martha, in the case of life, only offers you an awful pain. I mean, this is a human right.
Correct.
So in Spain, we have a euthanasia law, and we are the fourth country in Europe. So, I mean, there is a big debate with this theme, but I think it is very important. I mean, in Spain, the problems are because we are a non-confessional country, but the reality is that the majority is Catholic. Mm-hmm. And then for the practicant Catholic or the right-hand Catholic, you know, God is the only one that can give you life and also can take it away. Mm-hmm. But I think it's possible just to respect the other people that doesn't think exactly like you, and they decided in the case of being with a terminal illness.
Correct.
Just to say, I mean, just to say that's it with dignity and clean.
Since Julieta, stylistically, your films have become more austere, stylistically, and also, you know, Pain and Glory, you dealt with mortality. Mm-hmm. In Parallel Mothers, you were dealing with Spain and the mass graves and mortality. And now this film is directly talking about death.
Yeah, it's true.
Can you tell me what's going on in your head?
It was. No, I was not thinking. I mean, 6 years ago or 7 years ago when I did Julieta, I was not thinking about. Now there will be like 3 movies based basically in death or mortality. But what is true is that with Julieta, perhaps because it was based in Alice Munro short stories, I changed. I mean, my narrative changed, and it was very appealing to me to be just more austere, more restrained. It was my way to respect the original. Even there is a lot of that belongs to my writing, because it was impossible to. It was very different. To portray a Canadian family to a Spanish family. Correct. Because really, you know, in the original in the original tale of Alice Munro called Silence, there is a daughter that abandoned her, but when she's 18 years old, but the mother, Juliet, doesn't look for her. I mean, it's painful for her, but she keeps on doing her life. And of course, I'm not going to judge Alice Munro, absolutely not. But after, I don't know, this summer, when I read about the problems that she had with one of her daughter, because she was raped during from 14 years to 18 years old.
Correct.
And she asked her mother to intervene to try to end that, and she refused completely. If I got that information, because it's curious that in Silence there is a girl that abandoned the mother, but there is a lot of reason to leave your mother in this situation. It was very interesting how Alice Munro wrote that story without telling anything about the real daughter and the real disappearance. It was a fiction.
Right.
But anyway, when Munro dies, the daughter just appears in the media saying that awful secret that the whole family, kept it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was talking about. Well, then from Juliet to now, yes, it's true that I'm much more austere, and it was by casual that I talk about mortality. But for example, I know that next year I will shoot, I hope, a new movie, and that is not about death. That
Okay.
is.
Although your style has gotten more austere, we have the bold red color, and I was struck that this film deals about euthanasia, but in Japanese culture, red is celebrating, the coming of death. Was that
Yes,
something that
in Japanese culture, yes. And I wanted since the beginning, when Martha arrives to the house, then she sees that red door, and she imagine that is my place. She immediately, it was like that room, it was waiting for her to finish her days there.
One of the beauties of your script is that Julianne Moore's character, Ingrid, is naive and
Yeah.
sort of somewhat innocent about death and embracing death. And of course, she, matures. Tell us about writing that character that is so innocent.
Yeah, in this case, I give to Ingrid something that I feel. I feel very immature, related with death. I cannot accept it. Of course, I see examples every day. Thousands of people die, more now than ever. But I always have that problem of accepting my intelligence and also to understand it. And I give this part of the character to Ingrid because it was interesting for me. When I was writing about these two ladies, that one is very brave, that Martha, it was a war correspondent, and she faced death many times, and she doesn't have any kind of fear. No, but she was never alone. She was always with this kind of mobile family, as she said, that they are made by reporters. And so she didn't need to have someone close to her, but someone just in the room next door. She needed, and I can understand, just to know that when she say goodbye to her life, there is something alive, very close to her.
Wow. I'm going to ask you a bold question. I admire your work, studied your work. In Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, Rosa de Palma has a sexual awakening that happens in a lounge chair. then later on and talk to her. We have the two ladies in coma. They're in lounge chairs.
Yes, it's true.
In Pain and Glory, Salvador Mayo has an awakening through heroin in lounge
In the
chairs.
lounge chair, yes.
And
Yes.
then now
It's true.
in this film, we have this communion with death in lounge chairs.
Yeah, you are right. I was not conscious of that. I mean, and I mean, you perhaps you got the feeling that I'm living in a lounge chair, and I don't. I don't. Of course, I have a terrace at home, but it's in the second floor, and there is a lot of noise. So I never, and it was very good in summer. It was, I mean, the breeze and the stress. But I don't lie on lounge chair. But it's true that they are. Perhaps it should have a meaning. No, in this case, I was thinking about the painter they discover of Edward Hopper. There are People at the Sun, I think is the name. They are like, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6 people, just very completely immobile. They could be dead. And so that's Martha comment. We can also, I mean, take the breeze here, like in the Hoppers painting. But I thought more but it's true that there are many, and in sequences that are very important.
Well,
because
of course,
Talk to Her is very important. I mean, the
Important.
conversation between the two men.
And Rosie De Palma has that awakening
Yes,
in the lounge
absolutely.
chair. So
And
there's,
in Women Universe is very important because is when the model came and give that confession that she has a relation with terrorists, and Carmen Maura is trying to, and also Rosie is sleeping there, and when she wake up, is a new woman.
and Salvador Mayo in
Yes.
Pain and Glory experiences heroin, and he has a new awakening in his life.
You are right. I have to think about that.
Well, I'm glad that I
To
was,
discover me that, no, because I was not conscious of that.
well, thank you. Alberto Iglesias is one of your greatest collaborators. This score is stunning in the sense that he shows restraint as well. Deep emotion, but restraint. Can you tell us about working with him? It's quite a
Yeah.
departure for him.
Well, Alberto is really, I'm so lucky to have met him for The Flower of My Secret in 1995. And since then, we were together all the time. And, he's the only, because I worked with some others before, there was some other composers, and he's the only artist that I know without any kind of ego. I mean, he's always working for the movie, and sometimes, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a musician, but I know exactly when the movie fits well with the images. So we prove all the time. I mean, she create, for example, at the beginning, 4 or 5 themes, and we see the movie with the themes, and then I react, not with a terminology of musician. Just, no, I don't like because, I mean, it's not strange reasons, but sometimes parecen reacciones caprichosas, pero muy auténticas, por las cuales me gusta o no me gusta, o las razones que le doy a Alberto.
Yeah, so the reasons are not really technical. They're more like a whim. Like I have a sense or a feeling of why I like things or don't like things, and I give that direction to Alberto.
Pero él entiende exactamente por qué se lo digo. Y hay veces que, por ejemplo, porque soy así de atrevido, le digo, en este tema no me gusta esta nota cuando hace tin-ton, pues no me gusta cómo termina. Y él entiende absolutamente y dice, me lo has dicho esa misma nota en otros 2 temas y sé exactamente lo que quieres.
Yeah, so for example, like one of the things that I will say to him, just to give you an example, without using any technical language, I will say to him, that sound went ping, ping. That last ping, I didn't really like that last ping. And he'll say, yeah, that's the same thing that you didn't like for the 2 other themes that we were working on. I can fix that, right?
So
And
he-
so he understands what I'm talking about, like, immediately, even if I'm not using musical language.
So I mean, with the time is closer because I mean what is important is I mean the music comes at the end of the when you have the whole movie edited and with almost all the tricks, and this is that at the end. So usually, I mean, the producers are always in a hurry. I mean, just to them just to ask the music to be very soon. And what El Deseo does with Alberto is just to give him time. And depends on him. Sometimes, I mean, the music goes like it is in 2 months, and sometimes it is in 4 months. But he needs the time, and then I'm sure that he's going to be perfect.
And your other collaborator in the film is your director of photography. This is the first time that you work with Grau.
Yep.
You've worked in the past for a long time with your previous collaborator. You know, tell us about the change and Grau working with you.
Yeah. No, I used to work basically with José Luis Alcaine. That is one of the big masters alive in Spain. But I mean, José Luis now is 85, and also I needed a bilingual DP. And also, but it's not the only reason. Also, I like the work of Edu Grau a lot. I mean, I remember that his first movie was with Tom Ford, A Single Man.
Correct, yeah.
And I follow his career, and really we understood each other very well. I mean, he did his work. He told me, I mean, after finishing the movie, that he saw again all my movies, which are 22, and this is the 23rd movies. So he knew very well, I mean, that I like colors. I mean, the type of light that I feel like, even, I mean, yeah, and because, I mean, this is more austere, but still, what I don't renounce is color. Colors, I think all my movies will be with this kind of alive colors. I think I remember the movies that I saw when I was a kid, that it was Technicolor, and I see myself like looking to imitate that coloration in my movies.
Yeah, the Red Shoes and Pressburger's films. Yeah. I want to ask you about John Turturro's role, and that he brings up environmental issues. You know, can you talk about that aspect in the story?
Yeah, in that moment was a reality. I mean, it was important to be aware of that problem, climate change. I mean, now, I mean, 2 weeks before in Spain happened an incredible catastrophe. I mean, with hundreds of dead people, hundreds of disappeared people. We had Dana. I don't know how to say Dana here. Dana es un fenómeno meteorológico.
It's only in Europe.
¿Cómo?
Only in Europe.
Only in Europe we have Dana.
It's like a...
Es como...
It's like a tornado. It's like a tornado. Okay.
Sí, yeah, it's like a tornado, yes. It was in Valencia, in the
Correct.
yes, in that part of Spain, in Levante, and it was because of the climate change. It was very clearly. So that was, I mean, it's something real. I mean, I cannot understand. I respect every kind of opinion, but I cannot understand the negationist. I mean, now it's difficult to. I mean, we have proofs of that every day. So at that moment, it was important that this man is a little catastrophist, but he's telling something that now is a reality, that how dangerous could be if wild neoliberalism is by hand of far right. And I'm sorry to say that now that is the American reality, the result of the elections. Because I mean, talking about climate change, it's gonna be very, very dangerous for not only for United States but also for Europe, for everywhere.
Correct.
Because they are negationist. Because the big companies, they prefer not to have these kind of rules to control. So at that moment, but now it's I think it's real.
Correct.
We have more reason to be concerned about that.
Pedro, in all of your films, there's so much I admire about what you do in your films, but even, I mean, you always have so much literary respect, you know, in Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, you know, you're alluding to Cocteau and the human voice. In All About My Mother, your Tennessee Williams, the influence, etc. In this film, John Huston's The Dead is brought up. You know, can you tell us about the influence of The Dead?
Yeah, it is a very big reference in my movie. I always remember The Dead and basically the end, not the whole movie, but I was so moved at the end when Angelica Houston is just going down the stairs and suddenly she's completely immobile, like in 2 or 3 minutes, and after she's playing to her husband why she was so impressed when one of the aunts was singing. But the last, I mean, the reflection about death of the husband when it's snowing, and it is in James Joyce's book too, Dubliners. I went for me, and I got the place in this movie. I think it is one of the more moving moments, and also reflect that kind when the first time that it happens is at the hospital, and when Tilda is like waking up and she said, "Oh, it's snowing," and it asked to Julian, "Do you remember the ends of James Joyce, Dubliners?" And she said, "Vaguely." And Tilda start saying the last words of John Huston. It was incredibly moving just to watch that. And after she repeat the same, but with the movie, when they are, I mean, the whole night watching movies. And also Julian said at the end, very moved, "Oh, it is done and you are alive." So at the end, I mean, the third time that appears is Julian, that is with Michelle, Martha's daughter, and Martha's daughter said, "Oh, this is snowing." And what Ingrid make is just a mix of her own emotion and her own life with Martha there at the house in the woods, with the final of James Joyce, and also it was, for me, it was very, very, very moving. And you know, I got the impression that it was a way of reincarnation in the two women, but not only in them, but also, I mean, for me, it's like Martha is the snow, and Martha snowing on the body of her daughter and Julian.
It's beautiful, beautiful. So you mentioned you've done 23 films, 22 films in Spanish. This is your first feature, full feature in English. How was that experience for you?
Well, that was easier than I thought, because I was very, I mean, scary. For that reason, I made two shorts in English of 30 minutes. Yeah. And then, because I didn't know if I could be understood by the actors, and if I can understand them. Then with the two shorts, I discovered that I could do it. And it was very, I mean, I had to say that it was even easier than in Spanish. Basically because of Julian and Tilda and John Turturro, that, I mean, curiously, in Spanish, I repeat many times. I do many takes, different takes. But with them it's the first movie that I only make like 3 maximum. And so we didn't have, the language, it was not a problem. The problem, it was just to shoot a movie, which is always, it's always difficult. But it was not specifically because it was in English. So, I don't know, I was very lucky just to work with them, and I was very happy too.
Yeah. Well, it's rare when one gets to meet one of your heroes, and you have been a hero to me since forever. And thank you so much for all
thanks to you.
Thank you for all the love and enrichment you have brought to my life. Not just to me, but to everybody. You're
Thank you so much.
You're amazing. Thank you. Yeah.
That gives a reason to my career to hear that.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you,
thanks to you.
everybody.
Gracias, Pedro.